In the closing moments of Game of Thrones, the character of Tyrion Lannister reaches a point of deep internal reckoning, shaped by years of political maneuvering, moral compromise, and personal loss. His final advice to Jon Snow is not merely a strategic suggestion, but a culmination of his evolving philosophy about power, justice, and responsibility. Tyrion has always been a man who sees the world through both intellect and empathy, and in this moment, those traits collide as he urges Jon to confront an unbearable truth. The weight of his words reflects not only the destruction they have witnessed, but also the cost of believing too blindly in leaders who promise a better world. Throughout the series, Tyrion's relationship with power has been complex and often conflicted. He has served kings and queens, including Daenerys Targaryen, with a hope that wisdom could temper ambition. However, by the end, he recognizes that even the most idealistic rulers can become tyrants when convinced of their own righteousness. His advice to Jon is born from this painful realization that love and loyalty cannot excuse atrocities. Tyrion understands that Jon's emotional connection to Daenerys is precisely what makes the situation so dangerous, and so he frames his argument in a way that forces Jon to see beyond his feelings. Tyrion's speech is also deeply philosophical, touching on the nature of good and evil. He suggests that the most dangerous people are those who believe they are unquestionably good, because they justify any action in the name of a greater cause. This insight is crucial to understanding why Tyrion pushes Jon towards such a drastic decision. He is not simply reacting to Daenerys' actions, but to the pattern of thinking that led her there. In Tyrion's view, unchecked idealism combined with absolute power inevitably leads to destruction, and Jon must act before that cycle continues. Another layer of Tyrion's advice lies in his understanding of history and narrative. He knows that the story people tell themselves about a ruler shapes their acceptance of that ruler's actions. Daenerys sees herself as a liberator, and this self-image allows her to rationalize mass violence. Tyrion tries to break this narrative for Jon, showing him that what Daenerys calls liberation is, in reality, domination. This reframing is essential, because Jon must first change how he perceives Daenerys before he can act against her. Tyrion also carries a deep sense of guilt in this moment. He had supported Daenerys, believed in her, and advised her, only to see her descend into brutality. His advice to Jon is therefore not only a warning, but also an attempt at redemption. By guiding Jon to make the right choice, Tyrion hopes to atone for his own misjudgments. This emotional undertone adds gravity to his words, making them feel less like manipulation and more like a desperate plea for justice. The dynamic between Tyrion and Jon is crucial to the effectiveness of this advice. Tyrion knows that Jon values honor and duty above all else, so he frames his argument in those terms. He emphasizes the responsibility Jon has to protect the realm, even if it means sacrificing his personal happiness. This appeal to Jon's core values is what ultimately makes the advice persuasive, as it aligns with Jon's identity rather than contradicting it. Tyrion's final counsel also reflects his understanding of sacrifice. He recognizes that true leadership often requires making impossible choices, and that the cost of inaction can be greater than the cost of action. By urging Jon to act, Tyrion is essentially asking him to bear the burden that he himself cannot carry. This transfer of responsibility is both strategic and emotional, highlighting the trust Tyrion places in Jon. There is also an element of realism in Tyrion's reasoning. He understands that political solutions are no longer viable, and that the situation has reached a point where only decisive action can prevent further catastrophe. This pragmatic approach contrasts with the idealism that once defined Daenerys, reinforcing the idea that Tyrion has learned from his experiences and is now guided by a more grounded perspective. Tyrion's advice is not delivered lightly. It is the result of careful thought and painful reflection. He knows the consequences of what he is suggesting, both for Jon and for the realm. Yet he also knows that avoiding the decision would lead to even greater suffering. This tension between necessity and morality is at the heart of his character, and it is fully realized in this moment. Ultimately, Tyrion's final advice represents the culmination of his journey as a character. It encapsulates his growth from a cynical observer to a man who understands the true cost of power. By guiding Jon toward a difficult but necessary choice, Tyrion fulfills his role as both a strategist and a moral compass, leaving a lasting impact on the fate of the realm. When Jon Snow receives Tyrion's advice, he is placed in an almost impossible position, torn between love and duty. His relationship with Daenerys Targaryen is deeply personal, rooted in shared and mutual respect. Yet Tyrion forces him to confront the reality that love does not absolve wrongdoing. This emotional conflict is central to Jon's character, as he has always struggled to balance his feelings with a sense of honor. The political implications of Tyrion's advice are equally significant. By urging Jon to act against Daenerys, Tyrion is effectively advocating for a radical shift in power. This is not just about stopping a tyrant, but about redefining leadership in the aftermath of chaos. Tyrion envisions a future where power is not concentrated in the hands of a single ruler, and his advice to Jon is a step toward that vision. The decision Jon must make will shape the political landscape of Westeros for generations. Jon's hesitation highlights the human cost of Tyrion's reasoning. Unlike Tyrion, who approaches the situation with analytical clarity, Jon is deeply affected by his emotions. This contrast underscores the difficulty of the decision, as it requires Jon to suppress his personal feelings in favor of a greater good. Tyrion understands this struggle and uses it to strengthen his argument, emphasizing the consequences of inaction. The aftermath of Jon's decision, influenced by Tyrion's advice, reveals the complexity of justice. While the immediate threat is eliminated, the emotional repercussions linger. Jon is left to grapple with the weight of his actions, knowing that he has sacrificed someone he loved for the sake of the realm. This outcome reflects Tyrion's belief that true justice often comes at a personal cost. Tyrion's role in this outcome also raises questions about accountability. While he did not carry out the act himself, his influence was instrumental in shaping Jon's decision. This indirect responsibility adds another layer to his character, as he must live with the knowledge that his words led to a tragic but necessary conclusion. It is a reminder that advice, especially in positions of power, can have profound consequences. The scene also serves as a commentary on the nature of leadership. Tyrion's advice suggests that a good leader must be willing to make difficult choices, even when they conflict with personal desires. This idea is reinforced by Jon's eventual decision, which prioritizes the well-being of the realm over his own happiness. It is a harsh but realistic portrayal of what leadership entails. In a broader sense, Tyrion's final advice reflects the themes that define Game of Thrones as a whole. The series consistently explores the tension between power and morality, and this moment encapsulates that struggle. Tyrion's words serve as a reminder that power, when left unchecked, can corrupt even the most well-intentioned individuals. The emotional resonance of this moment is amplified by the history between the characters. Tyrion and Jon have developed a bond built on mutual respect and understanding, making Tyrion's advice all the more impactful. Jon trusts Tyrion's judgment, even when it leads him down a painful path. This trust is a testament to the depth of their relationship and the influence Tyrion holds. Tyrion's advice also underscores the inevitability of change. The world they inhabit is shifting, and old systems of power are being challenged. By encouraging Jon to act, Tyrion is not only addressing the immediate threat, but also paving the way for a new era. This forward-looking perspective is a key aspect of his character, as he consistently seeks solutions that go beyond the present moment. In the end, the consequences of Tyrion's final advice extend far beyond the immediate. They shape the future of the realm, redefine the concept of leadership, and leave a lasting impact on the characters involved. It is a moment that encapsulates the complexity of human nature, the burden of responsibility, and the difficult choices that define true leadership.